killer who may be in this room. We believe you are hiding in plain sight.
Keep your babies close to you. There's nothing out there.
What's up, Mob Crew? I'm Chris, and today's missing person case is Don. Also, today's person of interest is Olivia. Today's missing person case is today's missing person case is Corey. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the stream. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you guys can hear me all right, please put a 1 in the chat. So before we get started, I'm just curious for all those, how you guys feel about the probable cause affidavit. If you could describe it in a few words, let me know in the chat. I was definitely disappointed. Kind of in law enforcement side of it. Kind of curious what you guys think. I know a lot of content creators yesterday were pretty upset, I should say. Little disappointed that they didn't look more into. Turn this down just a little bit. Look a little bit deeper into Richard Allen from the beginning. Since he did say that he was there that day, right in between the time frame 1:30 and 3:30, which is the time that the girls basically showed up and went missing. I just can't believe it. Okay, so let me turn it up just a little bit. Oh, somebody says haven't seen it yet. Okay, a little low. All right, gonna turn up just a little bit. That should be a lot better. It was a little loud on my end. Some people think still not enough to convict. So do keep in mind, because we will watch something, that a probable cause affidavit is not the whole picture. It's just enough to get the guy to have an arrest. We will play a video that kind of describes, probable causes and what can be in them and how much is actually left out in the basic probable cause. But today we're going to go over the timeline. I know I just put out a video of kind of a detailed timeline, but I thought we'd kind of dive deeper into that and then kind of go into the unspent round and kind of what may have happened at the crime scene itself. So, but before we get started, we always like to feature the missing. So really quick, scoot this over. This is Allie Madison Duval. She's from Grantsville, Utah. I know there's a couple people from Utah in here. She went missing on the 23rd. She is a runaway. Apparently she has been in contact with friends, which is a good sign, but she still is a runaway, and her family is missing her. So she has green eyes, brown hair. She's 5'3". She does have her right nostril piercing. If you have any information, please call 435-884-6881. So there is that. So moving on to the timeline here. Pull this up, make sure you guys can see. So everybody can hear me better now. I'm just gonna see. So I'm just gonna pull up a few here. Jennifer says pretty damning. Jelly Bean says not enough to convict. Like I said, probable cause, from what I saw in this recent article, is that it's just enough. They put enough in there to be able to arrest Richard Allen, but clearly there's a lot of people are wondering what actually happened at the crime scene. That was clearly left out. Let me get caught back up here. So, all right. So we'll go over the timeline and then kind of talk about. There's a few things that obviously the prosecution thinks there is another person or actor involved, and maybe there's something in this probable cause affidavit that kind of hints to that, which could possibly be from one of the witnesses, the three juvenile witnesses, especially the one that describes seeing somebody in all black, which doesn't really match what Allen was wearing that day, or BG, if you're not convinced it's Allen. So, but we'll kind of start with the timeline and then go from there. Yes, True Crime, I did get your text because I asked him what could cause something like that where an unspent round would be found at the crime scene. And there's several possibilities. So we'll go over that. And I appreciate you, Steve, for sharing that information because I was kind of wondering how that could have unfolded. So, all right, let's get with the timeline here. So it starts out, let me pull up this over here. Karina says guilty as F. Yeah. Okay, so the timeline starts somewhere before, I guess, 12:30. They kind of group these first three juvenile witnesses together. They apparently come from the Freedom Bridge. Sometime, I think, before 12:30, they would walk the 501 trail, and then one of the three witnesses would take a picture at 12:43 of the bridge, and then they would make their way back to the Freedom Bridge. And there's a bench there. Let's see if I can zoom in. I think there's a bench here. I'm not sure if this is the bench they're talking about, but a witness takes a picture of a bench at approximately 1:26. And what's interesting is 1 minute later, after she takes this picture, you have Richard Allen, who is seen on the Hoosier Hardware Store surveillance heading westbound, who is going to obviously park at the old CPS building. So he would park here at, I'm assuming, probably 128. Then would probably take this path here, and that is when these witnesses would first run into Richard Allen. And I have it somewhere. This is kind of approximate, just kind of going off the times that they have. And so I'd assume that he runs into these witnesses about 1:30, which is kind of when he said he got there. He said he was there from 1:30 to 3:30. And so they all kind of described similar but different things. And so some of the main things, let me pull up here, is one kind of describes what BG looks like to a T. But then there's another one that describes that he is wearing all black and there's something covering his mouth, which I think is interesting. That witness, could it be possible that this could be the second actor? Because if we just kind of take a look at that picture here, make sure you guys can see that good. So if we kind of look, I mean, it's obviously it was a good day. I don't think it was cloudy, so it's kind of interesting that she would describe a person wearing all black when the other one describes light blue jeans and a light blue jacket, Carhartt jacket. So could this one of the juvenile witnesses had seen a second person who's wearing all black and something covering his face? Um, they all do describe kind of a shorter person, and one describes kind of a big build. That's also somebody had mentioned. I think one of my mods thinks that could be possibly Kegan because he's a short, big build. So there is that. So they run into him at 1:30. Two of the witnesses would say hi to him, and one he would glare at him. The other one, he was walking with a purpose and just walked right past her. So then Richard Allen would obviously continue down the 501 trail. Let me get rid of those. So then the witnesses, the three juvenile witnesses, would leave and head westbound off the Freedom Bridge. And this is when witness 4 would approach. And she would actually see the three juvenile witnesses as she's going under this bridge here. So witness 4 would arrive, would actually be seen on the Hoosier Harp store camera at 1:46 heading eastbound. Now this is interesting because the timeline before had it that the girls Abby and Libby were dropped off at approximately 1:39, 1:40. So I'm not sure who came first. In my timeline, I'll explain why here in just a second. I think that this witness shows up just before Abby and Libby, because in her statement she says that there's no other cars in the parking lot of this Mears lot here. And so, like I said, she's seen at 1:46. So let me cross that out. And so she would get out and start walking and start taking the 501 trail. And right after she starts taking the trail is when I believe Abby and Libby get dropped off by Kelsey at 1:48 because they have Kelsey's car leaving westbound at 1:49. So I think they got dropped off just a minute or two before. And so now Kelsey's leaving. So I think the girls got there just after this witness 4, as I call it. So let me cross that. Oh, no. So now we have witness 4, Abby, Libby, and Richard Allen. Now here, just as 1:48. And so witness 4 would take the 501 trail and reach the bridge. She would see Richard Allen. Let's see. She would see Richard Allen and then turn around. Richard Allen was supposedly standing on the first platform. So witness 4 would turn around, and I think then she runs into, and she says this in the probable cause affidavit, she sees victim 1 and 2, Abby and Libby, about halfway back to the Mears parking lot. And then I think at the same time, Richard Allen starts walking back as well, maybe to pursue witness 4, and then sees Abby and Libby. So I think the witness 4 runs into Abby and Libby at approximately 2 p.m. Let me get my timeline here. So we have 155. Okay. So witness 4 then would be leaving, and Abby and Libby would now be approaching the bridge. I think Richard Allen sees them, then makes a decision to kind of wait and see if anybody else is coming from the 501 trail. Pull up here. The girls reach the Monon Bridge and take that picture at 2:05. And then also take another picture at 2:07. I think at this point, Richard Allen has made the decision that nobody else is coming from the 501 trail and now has turned back and now is approaching the bridge again. And then unfortunately at 2:13, the girls would reach the end of the bridge and would see Allen approaching them. And so we now learned in the probable cause affidavit that they did mention the word gun, one of the victims, which I always kind of thought that he had a gun with him. We'll just play just a short little clip of him walking here. So we only get 1 second clip. I always felt like the reason why it's just a 1 second loop is because he's about to brandish the gun, and that they always wanted to keep that detail to themselves for whatever reason. And but now we know that he clearly does brandish it because one of the victims says guns. There was kind of a leaked transcript where apparently the video starts out with the girls kind of talking girl chat, and then I think one of them says, "Is he still behind us?" or "Is he still there?" And then he responds with the "Hey," and then approaches, and then I think he pulls out the gun, and then I think Abby's the one that says, "Is that a gun?" He's got a gun, and then he reaches. Now he's caught up to them, and now says, "Guys." So witness 4 would leave. So just right after that video, close some of these out. So just after that video starts at 2:13, unfortunately, witness 4 would be in her car and seen on camera leaving westbound at 2:14. And then so I think he escorts the girls down the hill. Unfortunately, they do try to run, in my opinion, and Alan actually ends up catching up to them. They try to cross the creek to get away. Maybe one falls behind. That reenactment video from let's see if I can find it here. I think was quite well done. Let's see if I can find it. This one. Oh, I got a lot of stuff. Oh, there it is. Okay, I think it's this one here. Sorry, that is really loud. So here's a little bit of look. Now, like I said, I did do a video where I kind of show some of the scenery. It's a little more detailed as far as visuals. But that was the entrance of the Freedom Bridge. But I think this is probably what most likely happened. This is done by Anthony Greeno. His channel is not up anymore, or I would give him a shout out. Here is the embankment that the girls would have had gone down. I think possibly this is when they decided to run, is when going down one of the two embankments. Let's see. And I think there's two scenarios. He could have escorted them across, or I think he ran across. which, let's see, is it in this one? It might have been in the second video, but there's a second video where they do it and the girls are running and they actually, one of them trips and falls in the water. And I think that's probably what may have happened and could have happened with Richard Allen or BG, and maybe got the gun wet. I asked Steve what could have caused this shell casing, this unspent shell casing, why it could have ended up between the two bodies. So going back to the map, so the crime scene would be close to, but on the north side of Deer Creek. They would find a 40 caliber casing unspent between the bodies. Now this is just my speculation, but there is another witness. There are a few other witnesses that would just drive by and see his car. Pull that one up, which is up here. Oh, okay, I do have it. So there would be 3 other witnesses that would drive by seeing his car at 210, 214, and 228, all parked at the abandoned building. Actually, I shouldn't have went back. Okay, there's the building. And then for our final witness, go up here. So I know I talked to Steve and he said that he doesn't think anybody, he thinks it would have been really hard to come out of the cemetery, but I think somehow he ended up maybe coming through the cemetery or somewhere popping out north from the crime scene after, I think whatever happened finished probably about 3:30, because at 3:57 a witness who I would be the 7th witness in this probable cause is driving eastbound and sees Richard Allen walking westbound on the north side of 300 North, and she describes him in the same kind of clothing as everybody else, blue jeans, but she says that he's muddied and bloodied. So I'm kind of curious if this is where they're talking about, because they don't talk about seeing him on the security camera, and this 300 North does loop all the way around, but obviously you'd be heading north or south if he was walking up here. So I have the witness seeing him here, but I don't know if that's 100% accurate, but like I said, the road kind of curves, so I think it's possible that he was walking back, she drove eastbound, and then to avoid the camera, or maybe he didn't even know the camera was there, he entered back in through the Mears parking lot, and then maybe kind of hovered through the woods, or even walked the trail back to his car this way. Yeah, muddy and bloody. That was the 7th witness. That was yeah, pretty jaw dropping. So as let's see. Okay, yeah, let me play this video that I found. Let's see, where is it? This talks about this unspent bullet that they've found between the bodies here. Oh.
One of the largest areas of focus in the Delphi investigation is a single unspent bullet found near the bodies of Abby Williams and Libby German in 2017. That detail revealed yesterday when a judge ruled to release a redacted version of case documents. WRTV's Rachel Wilkerson shows us what that single bullet could mean to this case.
According to the unsealed probable cause affidavit in the Delphi double murder case, an unspent .40 caliber bullet was found in between the bodies of Abby Williams and Libby German. Unspent means it was never fired. That single bullet, investigators say, links Richard Allen to the crimes. In Indiana State Police Laboratory.
Yeah, so the bullet wasn't actually shot. That's why it's an unspent bullet. But just as in a fired bullet that will leave grooves to that specific gun, they can also trace an unspent bullet from the extraction, because there's a claw inside the gun that leaves scratch marks, which this guy's going to describe here in just a second.
Analysis on Allen's gun reveals the unfired bullet was at one point loaded in the chamber and had extraction marks on it. Indianapolis gun expert and defense attorney Guy Relford explains how that happens.
When the slide comes back like this, a round is extracted from the chamber with what's called an extractor, which is like a little claw that actually hooks on to this protruding rear edge of the cartridge, pulls it out, and then the ejector sort of kicks it out of the ejection port. So that claw, that extractor that grabs onto that little edge on the back of the cartridge can leave a little mark on the shell casing, even on an unspent round, through the process of extracting that unspent round out of the gun.
So his channel was taken down for whatever reason, so those are gone. I do have, so there was three reenactments, and I luckily recorded 2 and 3. But yeah, his channel was taken down. I do have there's a video, I'll have to see, maybe I can put it in the description, where, I mean, because obviously I don't want to steal somebody else's content, so I only play bits and pieces of it. But I don't know, maybe I could see about asking and getting permission some way, because I think it was quite well done. Yeah.
Testimony of a muddy and bloody man matching Allen's description. Audio and videos are also being used as evidence. Allen has pleaded not guilty to the murders of the girls. Records show he admits to visiting the Monon High Trail, but doesn't have an explanation for the bullet.
So it could be a malfunction of the gun. It could be a misfire or other malfunction of the ammunition. It could be someone doing it intentionally and to induce fear. Or some factors that we haven't thought of yet.
Former FBI agent Doug Coons weighs in.
The bullet puts him there. He admitted that it was his gun. He's had it since 2001.
The cause of the deaths haven't been released to the public.
It's not saying that they were shot by, the same kind of bullet that was matched to the same kind of.
Questions in the highly publicized case remain.
That the prosecution's going to have to deal with about why would that be on the ground at a crime scene between 2 bodies. And I think that's where a lot of the defense case is going to go, is trying to poke holes in that, saying that doesn't necessarily mean that this defendant committed these crimes.
Relford says the scientific evidence in the case is crucial, but can also be disputed.
It can be very much a battle of experts, and one expert can say, yes, absolutely, that round came out of that gun, and another expert could come in and say, no, you can't conclude that to what we.
So I'm kind of curious. I wonder if Steve may know this, because I am not a gun person. I wonder how unique. I know Sig Sauer is a pretty popular name, but a Sig Sauer P226, I don't know if that's kind of a more unique brand, or is that just something that's a common brand? Kind of curious. Maybe Steve can answer that. Maybe we can look that up. I think that would definitely kind of determine, because obviously they found, the Sig Sauer extraction marks that made the marks on that unspent bullet that was found at the crime scene.
Call a reasonable degree of scientific certainty.
Working for you, Rachel Wilkerson, WRTV.
Relford also says the probable cause affidavit is just one side of things. And tonight we're taking a closer look at that document.
Yeah, following its release, we heard from many of you on our social media accounts. You had questions about why there was so little information and narrative in the probable cause affidavit. One person even commented, "This is very flimsy," and said the documents appeared to show little evidence. Another person posted, "Hope they find the killer or better evidence." But keep in mind the judge only unsealed the probable cause affidavit. I turned to the Legal Information Institute and a criminal law professor at Indiana University to help break down for our viewers what probable cause is. Probable cause doesn't include all the evidence in the case. It can just provide enough reason for someone to be arrested and possibly charged.
So there's kind of your answer, because a lot of people felt like it is kind of lacking a lot of details, but it is just a document that's just enough to arrest the individual. So because I think a lot of people are wondering how the crime actually occurred. We've heard that there's 3 signatures and that the crime scene was very unique. I forget the word that the old attorney described, but there's the 3 signatures. Kind of curious on what those signatures were, and if there was something that they found at Richard Allen's house that would also go along, like such as a trophy or something.
Is there enough evidence? Is there enough presented to support a reasonable belief that a crime has been committed and that this person committed the crime? The public shouldn't think that all of the evidence is contained in this probable cause affidavit. And I'm sure at the bail hearing, the strength of this probable cause is going to be litigated.
Before police can make an arrest, there must be probable cause present, and that can include evidence linking someone to a crime scene. For instance, the unspent bullet found at the Delphi crime scene. We've posted those unsealed court documents for you.
Okay, so I asked Steve what could have been some of the possibilities that there was. What happened? Why was there an unspent shell casing? And so I'm going to read this because he sent this to me, because I was trying to ask him before the show because I was kind of curious, and who better to ask. But so he says there's 3 reasons. I'm sure there's multiples, but the ones he sent me is failure to fire. So the extracted a round to feed a fresh round. So went to fire, but the bullet that was in there didn't fire, so it extracted to feed another bullet into the chamber, which would make sense. This one's another good one, is that the victims were struggling with BG or Richard Allen, and in the heat of the moment, they slid the chamber on the gun, causing the round to pop out. That would make sense. Forgot in the heat of the moment that a round was chambered, and he slid to chamber a round, and so that popped that out. That makes sense. And then number 4, he says gun muzzle was in hard contact with victim, causing slide to move slightly rearward and taking gun out of battery and causing gun not to fire. Oh, okay, I get it. So it's causing it not to fire because of they're close together, and the slide isn't going to work properly, causing it to misfire and then ejecting the shell. So those some of the possibilities that could have happened, which I think is amazing. Thank you, Steve, for sharing that. Because the first thing I was kind of wondering is, since they crossed through the creek, could have the gun gotten wet? I'm not a gun person, so I don't know a thing about guns. Unless you want to talk Call of Duty, then I could tell you about those kind of guns. But thank you so much, John France, for the $5 super sticker. You're so awesome. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. There you are. Thank you so much, Michelle, for modding, and the $4 super chat. You're so awesome. Thank you so much. And one more. WL22, thank you so much for the $20 super sticker. You are so awesome. Thank you guys so much for the support. There's a few more things we're going to go over, especially there's something that I've got planned, because obviously there is talk from the prosecution that there is a second actor. And so, kind of going back to the beginning of this affidavit, where the 3 juvenile witnesses are describing the perpetrator, Richard Allen. Now, I know he is not guilty yet. I saw a comment in here that we're already condemning him. I do believe in the system, and I'm glad he's got defense attorneys. And so, but let me pull this up, and then let me just read you one of the descriptions from one of the witnesses, because I think this is kind of interesting. Let me find it here. It is. So there's that one. So one of them describes almost what he has on to a T, which is the light blue jeans, light blue jacket. His hair was gray. So that's another thing I wanted to point out, is there is no mention of a hat. Yet we have a sketch, the original sketch, with that, kind of driver's cap, ivy cap. It's got many names. With a guy wearing that, but there's no mention from any of his witnesses of a hat. And so that comes from, and then she also says that he had a duck canvas type jacket. And when I heard that, I was like, what is a duck type canvas jacket? I wonder if she's trying to say, and I need to go back to the reenactments. Here, actually, I'll just do this. One. Right. Oh, that's not it. That's just the okay, so it's in that one. Okay, where are you? I've got so many files. I need to kind of do a little bit of house cleaning in these. Where is it? Okay, here it is. Gosh. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. Oh my gosh. It's got that so loud. So anyway, the duck canvas thing, let me go through it. Because I wonder if she was trying to describe, yeah, let's see, probably go, play just a little bit. This is what they were trying to describe, like duck camo, like, and this is what they were trying to describe in that. Because that would describe him to a T, is and pretty much what this actor in this reenactment video was wearing. So, but then we go to the second witness, which is interesting because this witness says she recalled him being in all black and had something covering his mouth, which, and if I read this right, you have two, so you have 3 juvenile witnesses, and this is also, this is kind of part of the video I'm going to make tomorrow. Breaking this down is these 3 juvenile witnesses, because 2 out of the 3 both said hi to him. They all kind of describe something different. But if you, especially the one witness that says hi, and then says that he kind of just glared at her, you would think if he did have something covering his mouth, that witness would have said something as well. but that witness does not say anything about covering his mouth. It's only, which I call just witness 2 for right now, that says that this person is wearing all black and had something covering his mouth. So I thought that's kind of interesting. And then you have the third juvenile witness who also says hi, but then she says that he's just got his head down. So I could see if he's got his head down for the third witness, his head's down, so maybe she couldn't see if there was something covering his mouth. Let me quickly get this. If there's a second actor who committed the murder, why hasn't Alan gave them up? Could easily cut a deal to avoid death penalty or life in prison. Ooh, great comment. That was a great point, Nick. Thank you so much for the $5. That's a great point. Yeah. Interesting. Now there could be, obviously, and we wouldn't know for a while, because things are going to take a while. But that is a great statement for sure. I know a lot of people. Ashley B, yeah, I think Kegan is the guy who would wear all black. I know a lot of people are still thinking Kline's, just because there's so many coincidences. I just wanted to get Steve's comment real quick. Libby was an athlete. Yes, she was. She played baseball. And of a heavy build, I speculate she might have been strong enough to possibly grasp the sliding and inject the shell. Interesting. Duck hunting camo and duck canvas are two very different things. So do you think she just meant duck canvas? I don't know. I just kind of saw that. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe you're right. I just kind of saw the camo. I was just wondering if maybe they meant some kind of camo. But yeah, that person, that first witness, does describe, and as a matter of fact, so the first witness that talks about, or is it the third witness? Okay, so the third witness is the one wearing tall black windbreaker. So the third witness, who also said hi to him, describes a blue or black windbreaker jacket and also wearing baggy jeans, and then had his hood up from some clothing underneath, which is something that I've also toyed with back and forth on whether he was wearing either a hoodie or a fanny pack. And I've been on both sides of the fence when it comes to that one. Just the way it's kind of shaped, it looks more square. It does look like a fanny pack, but no one mentions fanny pack. And the other one that's big is no one mentions a hat. The other thing that I found interesting reading this, I mean, there's a lot to pick apart from this probable cause, is that his reason being there is, so he's there from 1:30 to 3:30, according to him. He says that he is watching a stock ticker. And for those that may not know what a stock ticker is, the ticker is the thing that basically runs along the bottom of like any news. I mean, I used to have like a ticker that had my top, my top supporters and stuff. But sometimes that kind of, people don't like having the ticker running across all the time. So I kind of took it out. But the ticker is basically a thing that runs across the screen. So he says he's looking at the stock ticker on his phone, but all these witnesses mention that he's got his, well, not all of them, but a few of them mention that he's got his head down, his hands in his pocket, and also here, this doesn't look like a guy who's looking at the stock ticker. And then the other one is that he went to the bridge to look at fish, which is really just absolutely ridiculous. Looking at BG image by Libby, the sunlight and shadows give everything from medium blue to almost black. Yeah, from the I guess from the shadow side of things, it does look a little darker. The pants though, I don't know. I mean, those look light blue to me. But yeah, that's something I'm gonna do in tomorrow's video, is just kind of break down each of we're gonna kind of like dress up 3 people per witness and just kind of show the difference. Like I said, witness 1 and 3 are pretty close. But like I said, witness 2 is really interesting. It's almost like she saw somebody else, because she sees somebody in all black, which I think is kind of interesting. Louise says, "No, it's all blue." Yeah. Not going to see fish over 60 feet. Yeah, so that's his. Let me go to his statement here of why he was there. Yeah, so he says he was there. Like I said, I just can't believe this, because he puts himself between 1:30 and 3:30. And he says he parked at the Old Farm Bureau building. And this is another thing that just baffles me, is that he uses the word Old Farm Bureau building, but of course he didn't know what the building was. It was a CPS building. He called it the Farm Bureau building. So he literally says that he's parked there, but yet they're looking for anybody that parked there. I cannot believe they didn't look further into this guy. He said he did not see. He said he saw the 3 juveniles, but then I think what's another thing that's interesting is that he said he never saw the 2 victims. So I think that's kind of interesting. Yet his time frame puts him right there. He says he went to the bridge, and the girls, originally their time frame was 1:40, so 10 minutes later. So I just cannot believe they didn't look more into this guy. And where is it? Oh, maybe it's not there. And then he didn't say that he did have something on his head, but he doesn't describe it. So it could be a hoodie. I don't. Curious what you guys think is what he's wearing as far as in this video. I think it's an ivy cap or a backwards ball cap. A lot of people think it's just hair or a hoodie, but from my controlled experiments, the hoodie, I just can't get behind the hoodie. I could see from just this grainy thing being just it's his head, and it just kind of looks like he's got a hat on. But yeah, no mention of hat from any of the witnesses, so I thought that was kind of interesting. Thank you so much, JDR, for the 279. Multipass, and we know Kegan Kline was there, or just Anthony Schott's phone. We don't, Kegan Kline supposedly there was a confession, but we don't know, if how much stock you can put into that. That's an episode that I've always kind of wanted to dig into about the murder sheet, is because it's such a weird episode, because usually the murder sheet, they have a lot of context to their podcast, and that particular podcast, they're talking about the Wabash River search and talking about Doug Carter being on the flight, and that's the first half of the show. And then it kind of gets you excited, because they're talking about Doug Carter being on the helicopter flight, and then they say, oh well, they don't think it's related to the Wabash, that he was just going to because I guess one of the law enforcement had done something bad, so he was out to respond to that. But what's interesting is in that podcast, after they kind of build this podcast up about the Wabash River search and Doug Carter possibly being on this helicopter flight, then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they say, oh, by the way, Kegan Kline admitted that he was there in a red Jeep waiting for somebody. And then they literally, and that's like 2 minutes, and then they literally end the rest of the show by saying, oh, well, you got to remember that Kegan Kline can't be trusted. He's a liar. And that's pretty much the rest of the show. It's just so, I don't know, so fishy to me how that episode was put together. I don't know. I feel like that was some kind of ruse. But yes, he was looking at fish, going to the bridge to look at fish and checking his stock ticker. I don't even know. Is there any good fishing in Deer Creek? I mean, I've never really kind of researched that. Kind of curious, but I don't know what standing on a bridge is how much that's gonna help you. I just such a weird statement. So anyway, thanks, man. I appreciate that. It's an honor to have you in here, Sleuth. So yeah, tomorrow. We just kind of went through the timeline. I did put out a video with a pretty detailed, just going through what's in the affidavit and according to the witnesses and stuff, and just kind of putting some of the timelines together of where everybody was at, according to the surveillance footage and some of the photography that was taken by the juvenile witnesses. So just to really kind of recap, fast forward, I'll just kind of light everything up here. Let's go through it real quick. But you have the 3 juvenile witnesses that arrive somewhere between or before 12:30. They go to the 50 using the 501 trail. They get to the Monon Bridge. One of them takes a picture. She takes a picture at 12:43. Then they head back to the Freedom Bridge area. She takes a picture of the bench. Just as she's taking a picture, Richard Allen is seen driving. He parks at the CPS building at 1:28. Then approaches the 3 juveniles. They all encounter him and describe kind of different things, which we'll go into tomorrow. And then the juveniles would exit and leave westbound via the Freedom Bridge, while Richard Allen would go on the 501 trail. Witness 4 starts arriving and actually sees the 3 juveniles leaving. She comes around, and I believe she approaches the mirrors because she's seen on camera at 1:46. So I think she arrives just before Abby and Libby, because she also describes that there's nobody else in the parking lot. So she parks, gets out, starts walking the 501 trail just after 1:46. And then I think Abby and Libby get dropped off at about 1:48. Originally, it was at 1:39, 1:40, but I think it's at 1:48. And then Kelsey's car is leaving on camera westbound at 1:49. So now you've got Abby and Libby. You've got Witness 4 approaching the Monon Bridge, and then you've got Richard Allen. And I think she approaches Richard at about 1:55, who he says he's looking at fish. She turns back around. She encounters Abby and Libby at, I think, approximately 2 p.m. She passes them while Abby and Libby are continuing towards the bridge. I think Richard Allen then walks, possibly following Witness 4, and sees Abby and Libby, and then maybe passes Abby and Libby, sees that Witness 4 is leaving, and now kind of sits and waits. And Abby and Libby approach the bridge. And now Alan's deciding, maybe making the decision that, seeing if anybody else is coming. And then, of course, Abby and Libby would start walking the bridge, taking a picture at 2:05, and then another one at 2:07. I think now Richard Allen is approaching the bridge for a second time, and just out of frame from the 2:07 picture. And then the girls, of course, it's Abby's first time crossing the bridge, and it's a very scary bridge from what I understand. So she's probably kind of scared, and they're taking their time. Richard Allen is probably, who is a local, knows this bridge and starts hoofing it. He catches up to him at 2:13. Of course, the video starts at 2:13. He brandishes a gun and orders the girls downhill. The girls then, I think, try to run across the creek. He catches up to them. And unfortunately, he did have some kind of bladed weapon. This is something that was not in the probable cause, but they do talk about taking some knives from his home. And so I think the murder, excuse me, took place from 2:30 to 3:30. And then I think he did come out somewhere through the cemetery, possibly, just because there would be the final witness who sees Richard Allen, and she says that he's on the north side of 300 North, and he is heading westbound. She is heading east, and she sees him at 3:57, and she describes him in his blue jeans and jacket, and he is muddy and bloody. And she also says it looked like he got in a fight, which is interesting. I wonder if there was, hopefully, the girls put up a fight. Libby maybe scratched him. Maybe there's some other evidence that they can use. So, but then I think it's possible that he probably maybe came back into the Mears lot, only because there's no mention of him being seen on the camera at after this 3:57 encounter. Maybe he could have shadowed the woods as he comes back through to be undetected. Of course, before 3:57, you would have Derek German, who had arrived at 3:17. Actually, he arrives at 3:14 and starts walking the 505 trail at 3:17. But unfortunately, he ran into Flannel Shirt Guy. Instead of taking 501 trail, he asked the Flannel Shirt Guy if he'd seen any girls. He said no. So unfortunately, Derek takes this trail instead. So kind of a shame. Miss Dog Lover witnesses saw a man dressed in black. He was heavy set. Who does that sound like to you? Who liked to dress in black? Who liked to dress in black before orange? That's pretty good. Thank you so much, Miss Dog Lover. Yeah, and like I said, we're gonna go over that tomorrow. So just kind of recapping everything. And like I said, I've got a video I put out earlier where I kind of show visuals on top of that. With the timeline, but talking with Steve, I think that's makes a lot of sense of some of the possibilities of why there was one of an unspent bullet there. And just to kind of recap what he said, I think is very interesting. So we'll do it one more time. Failure to fire, which extracts a round to feed a fresh round. So maybe he was going to try to pull the trigger, but it failed to fire, so it kicked the round out. Second one could be that they were struggling, and the slide on the top of the gun, which when you slide it, like kind of cock it, it will extract the round out. The other one is he forgot that there was a live round in the chamber and went to slide it, causing one to pop out. And then the other one is that if he was close in contact with the victims, that the body contact would have caused the gun to kind of, the slide to move back, causing it to extract the bullets. And so, and then we watched a video earlier explaining why they can use the grooves because there's a claw that's in the gun that kind of holds the chamber, or holds the bullet in the chamber, and it leaves kind of a groove when extracted, and those are unique markings. But I did ask everybody, I guess a 6 Hoyer is pretty common weapon, so I guess defense, prosecution and defense can both argue both sides that a lot of people may have those guns, but let me see what everybody's saying in the chat. So like I said, tomorrow we'll break down the witnesses and what they're wearing. I got a couple other things. And next week, we're approaching the anniversary of the Evansdale murders. If you have not heard about those, I am going to do another kind of video, just a probably 5-10 minute video, just kind of describing the timeline of events of the Evansdale murders. They're approaching the 10-year anniversary this coming Monday, which is just a terrible tragedy because, they've had to go 10 years with no answers. So we're going to have Steve from True Crime Web's going to have Drew Collins on, the father of one of the victims, on his show. And then right after that, he's going to come on my show, and we're going to have Steve and Drew Collins on the show. We haven't set exact time yet up, but I think it'll be kind of later around this time, just because Steve will go first. As soon as we have a time set, I will put that in the community post. So, Sleuth Crew, Mob Crew, thanks, buddy. It's an honor to have you in here. Do amazing work. If you want to check out more Delphi info, Sleuth Intuition also does Delphi. Does an amazing job. Yeah, I don't think the gun was shot, just that it popped out. Yeah, that's another thing I want to talk about too, is I really don't think this, I don't know, I really think this young guy sketch is somebody else. Because we never heard anybody kind of just, I mean, at least in this probable cause, nothing talking about a young guy and curly hair, short curly hair. The only thing we hear is gray hair out of one of the 3 juvenile witnesses. So I don't know. In my opinion, I really feel like this young guy sketch is just somebody else. But that's just my speculation. Let's see, there's one more thing. And just a quick shout out to Copper Horse. Thank you so much for the gifted memberships yesterday. It was so awesome. And I will have some stuff for the members. I always try to do some extra stuff when she does that. Just to show my appreciation for everybody supporting the channel. If I covered everything. So I think that's it. Like I said, there is a more shortened version, detailed and a little more visual, about that probable cause affidavit timeline that I just went through. If you're interested, if you haven't seen it yet, go check it out. And then we will be live tomorrow. And like I said, we're going to break down the witnesses and each of what they describe this person's wearing, and then kind of break down what any clues can we take from the probable cause that leads to a second person involved in the crime. But that who was it? Nicholas Nick. That was a great comment, saying that if there is a second person that if Richard Allen knows this person, why hasn't he kind of gave him up? But it might be kind of early. He just barely got his defense team, so I think it's still early days. What's up with his alias CRR? Anyone know? CRR. I'm not sure. CRR. Alias CR. Oh, that's a good question. I've looked into that. I've just hit dead ends. But yeah, that is interesting. I can't even think of it right now. Because it's so. But yeah, he did have that alias. But yeah, I haven't heard anybody figure or link anything to that alias to anything else. But that is curious. So thank you so much, Freya, for the 449 super sticker. You are so awesome. Thank you so much for Craig Renfro. Yeah, I'm like I could remember the Craig, I couldn't remember the R, but yeah, I looked into it. I haven't seen any other content creators find any kind of links to that. It is curious. I'm interested in the rest of the video taken of BG. Yeah, I've kind of described it, like I said, I think that he clearly pulls out a gun, and that's why we only have that 1 second loop. And they wanted to keep that close to the vest for whatever reason. So, anyway, thank you guys so much. If you can, hit the like button on the way out. And like I said, Monday, we're going to have that big interview with Drew Collins. But of course, he'll be on Steve from True Crime Web. So please go check out his channel. Also go check out Sleuth, Intuition, another amazing channel. I wish I could shout everybody out. Thank you, mods, for all your hard work. And I love you guys so much. We're going to try to have Steve on at least once a week. We are going to be collabing a lot, so it'd be awesome to have him on maybe once a week and just to get his insight. So with that said, I am going to go ahead and play the outro, and I hope you guys have the rest of a great day, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. I love you guys.